stop what you're doing. Because something is happening with Cleetus McFarland that has NASCAR asking a question nobody expected to be asking this soon. Is NASCAR preparing to turn a YouTube creator into a legitimate future driver? That sounds ridiculous. At least it did a year ago, but after what happened over the last few weeks, people inside the sport are suddenly paying attention for a very different reason. Not because of his subscriber count, not because of his viral videos, and not because of the Freedom 500, because now the conversation is about performance. And according to multiple reports, Nashville could become the most important race of Cleetus McFarland's entire career. Think about that for a second. A few years ago, Cleetus was known almost exclusively as one of the biggest automotive creators on the internet. Burnouts, muscle cars, crazy racing events, millions of followers, millions of views. But NASCAR fans weren't talking about him as a future driver. In fact, many people openly questioned whether he belonged in stock car racing at all. Then came his early ARCA races. And honestly, the criticism was brutal. After a difficult debut at Daytona, plenty of people believed the experiment was already over. Some argued NASCAR only cared about the audience he could bring. Others said he wasn't ready. Others believed he would never become competitive. But here's the part nobody expected. He kept improving race after race, month after month. Instead of disappearing, Cleetus kept showing up, and eventually the results started speaking for themselves. The first major sign came at Rockingham. Then came Talladega. And suddenly everything changed, because finishing second at Talladega forced people to look at him differently. For the first time, even some critics started admitting the progress was real. People inside racing noticed, teams noticed, and apparently Childress Racing noticed too. Because shortly afterward came one of the biggest surprises of the year. Childress Racing announced Cleetus McFarland would drive the number 33 Chevrolet at Nashville. At first, some people assumed it was simply a publicity move, a one-race opportunity, a chance to create headlines. Then more information started coming out. Reports suggesting this partnership may extend beyond one race, potentially continuing through 2027. And that's when the entire conversation changed, because Childress Racing doesn't invest long-term in drivers by accident. This is one of NASCAR's most respected organizations, an organization built on championships, Hall of Fame drivers, and decades of success. If RCR believes someone deserves development opportunities, people pay attention. And suddenly, Nashville became much more than another race. Now it's an evaluation, a proving ground, a test. Because according to reports, NASCAR officials are watching this race very closely. Why? Because what happens at Nashville could determine what opportunities come next. A strong performance could open new doors, a disciplined race could accelerate his development path, and a disappointing result could slow everything down. That's why the pressure is enormous. But here's what makes this story even more interesting. When controversy surrounded his approval for bigger superspeedway opportunities, Cleetus didn't attack NASCAR. He didn't complain. He didn't create drama. Instead, he admitted there was still more to learn. That response earned respect throughout the garage, because NASCAR isn't only evaluating speed, they're evaluating maturity, decision-making, professionalism, and how drivers handle pressure. Which brings us right back to Nashville. This race isn't just about where Cleetus finishes, it's about whether NASCAR believes his development is real, whether the progress is sustainable, and whether one of the internet's biggest automotive personalities can become something much bigger, a serious NASCAR driver. So now, the question is simple. Is Nashville the race that changes Cleetus McFarland's future forever, or are expectations getting ahead of reality? Because one thing is certain, when the green flag drops in Nashville, a lot more than one race will be on the line.
What if I told you Cleetus McFarland just admitted something that could completely flip his NASCAR future upside down? Not that he's chasing the Cup Series, not that he's getting closer to the top, but that he doesn't even want it anymore. Yeah, you heard that right. After all the hype, all the attention, all the talk about him climbing the NASCAR ladder, Cleetus just said the one thing nobody expected: he has no desire to race in the Cup Series, and the reason why, it's not what you think. Because this isn't a quitting story, this might actually be the smartest move he's made yet. This whole thing didn't come out of nowhere. It came after a brutal reality check, not from fans, not from critics, but from the track itself. Because over the last few weeks, Cleetus didn't just talk about NASCAR, he lived it, from Daytona to Rockingham to Talladega, and what he experienced there completely changed his mindset. Let's start with Daytona. Cleetus made his Truck Series debut, and it ended almost instantly. Lap 6, spin wall race, over just like that. And after the race, he didn't sugarcoat it. "I'm an idiot." That's not confidence, that's reality, hitting hard. Because Daytona doesn't care who you are. One mistake, and it's over. Then came Rockingham. Earlier that day, he actually impressed. In ARCA, he finished 4th, top 5. Confidence building. For a moment, it looked like he was figuring it out. But then came the real test. The NASCAR Xfinity Series race. Started 35th, finished 32nd, 6 laps down, multiple mistakes, spins, close calls. And that's when he said something that explains everything. "I am way in over my head." That line, that's the turning point of this entire story. But then Talladega happened, and suddenly everything changed again. In ARCA, Cleetus didn't just survive. He competed. He drove into the top 10 lead laps and finished 2nd, right behind the winner. That wasn't luck. That was pace. That was progress. And now people had to take him seriously. So with momentum building, with fans watching, with NASCAR noticing, Cleetus dropped the bombshell. "Now that I'm in this, I don't want a race cup at all. That's terrifying to me." Let that sink in. Not, "I'm getting there." Not, "That's the goal. I don't want it." That's not fear. That's awareness. Because for the first time, Cleetus isn't acting like a YouTuber chasing a dream. He's thinking like a driver, building a career. He sees the gap. He understands the level. And instead of skipping steps, he's choosing the level where he can actually win. Right now. That's ARCA. And here's the twist. Nobody's talking about enough. Cleetus isn't just racing, he's bringing millions of eyeballs with him. When he shows up, viewership goes up, engagement explodes. NASCAR pays attention. That changes the game. Because now, he's not just a driver, he's value. And now everything comes down to one race. Nashville NASCAR officials have already said if he performs well there. The next door opens, more approvals, bigger tracks, more opportunities. One race that could decide everything. So here's the real question. Did Cleetus just back away from NASCAR's top level, or did he just take the smartest step toward a long-term career? Because sometimes, not chasing the top immediately is exactly how you get there. Let me know in the comments, is Nashville the moment that changes everything for Cleetus? Or should he stick with ARCA for 2027? And if you want more NASCAR drama breakdowns and insider stories, hit subscribe. Because this story, it's just getting started. NASCAR just had one of its most controversial finishes of the year, a 26-car pileup. Top drivers wiped out in seconds,